Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today our topic is democracy, theory, practice and challenges in Pakistan. Before we start writing on democracy, before we criticize systems, before we demand rights, have we ever really understood what democracy actually is? Is it just voting? Is it just elections? Or is it something much deeper? Because the reality is, most students start writing on democracy without understanding its core concepts, key terms, and internal problems. Today, I will explore democracy from its basic concept to its deeper realities, its strengths, its flaws, and most importantly, its condition in Pakistan. So, what is democracy? Democracy is a form of government in which people elect their representatives through voting, and those representatives manage the day-to-day affairs of the state. As defined by Abraham Lincoln, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, what is government? Government is simply a small group of people who manage the affairs of a large population within a defined territory having sovereignty. The word democracy comes from two Greek words, demos meaning people and kratos meaning rule. So democracy literally means rule of the people. To better understand democracy, we must compare it with other systems or other forms of government. For instance, in aristocracy, power lies in the hands of the elite, historically nobles and feudal lords, while in plutocracy, power lies in the hands of the wealthy. Democracy, in contrast, claims to distribute power among all people, but in practice, this claim often becomes questionable. The process of democracy revolves around two main actors, the voter and the candidate. First, let's talk about a voter. The voter is a person who casts a vote for their preferred candidate. Now, initially, the right to vote was called franchise, and it was limited. A debate existed who should be allowed to vote, the rich or the poor, the educated or the uneducated, men or women. To solve this, the concept of universal franchise was introduced, meaning everyone has the right to vote. But then another issue came. Can children vote? Since they lack rational thinking, the idea evolved into universal adult franchise, meaning only adults can vote. However, history shows that democracy was not always inclusive. Women were denied voting rights before the 20th century, and black people in the United States were deprived of voting rights until the 1960s. Thus, democracy has evolved, but only after long struggles for equality. Despite its ideals, democracy has always faced criticism. Nicholas D. Chamfort said, "Democracy is a system in which 100 donkeys are better than one Socrates," meaning, in a democracy, a large number of unwise people can outweigh the wisdom of one wise person. This highlights a potential flaw in democracy, where the majority's decision might not always be the best, especially if it is made up of less knowledgeable people. As aptly said by Alexis, democracy is the tyranny of the majority. These ideas emphasize that while democracy values the voice of the majority, it is important to be aware of the potential dangers if the majority's decision is not guided by wisdom or respect for minority rights. Allama Iqbal also criticizes democracy by saying that in such a system, people are counted, meaning number matters rather than weight, quality matters. This implies that democracy values the quantity of votes over the quality of decisions. However, the core objection of democracy is over the same thing, quantity versus quality. All these criticisms highlight one central issue: the conflict between quantity and quality. Democracy operates on numbers. The majority wins. But does majority always mean the best decision? Not necessarily. Supporters believe in collective wisdom, that many minds together make better decisions. As Ray Kroc said, none of us is better than all of us. However, if everyone in the group is dumb, meaning lacking wisdom or knowledge, then combining their thoughts 0 plus 0 plus 0 will still result in zero wisdom. In other words, if the majority is not wise, their collective decision will not be wise either, even if it is supported by the democratic process. Now, considering the above criticisms, John Stuart Mill suggested that a more educated person should have greater influence in decision making. He proposed that a degree holder should be given 2 votes, while a non-degree holder should be given only 1 vote. The idea behind this argument was that educated individuals are more likely to make rational and informed decisions, and therefore their opinion should carry more weight. However, this idea was also strongly criticized. Critics argue that education does not guarantee wisdom or fairness. A highly educated person can still be biased on the basis of caste, religion, or personal interest. Moreover, such a system would concentrate power in the hands of a specific class, the educated elite, and exclude the majority of the population from meaningful participation. This would ultimately destroy the very essence of democracy, which is based on equality. In addition, voter ignorance is not limited to the uneducated. Even highly qualified individuals often lack political awareness or do not participate in voting at all. People are over-aware in this era of social media, but still these voters are unaware. Therefore, the solution is not to limit voting rights, but to improve awareness and strengthen democratic culture. Now, the key issue: voter ignorance has nothing to do with qualification. Even educated people do not vote or vote without awareness. In Pakistan's 2024 elections, only about 46% voted and 54% did not vote. The reasons were lack of trust in the system failed to meet basic needs, and physical barriers. The first two indicate failure of democracy. Democracy may result in minority rule rather than true majority rule. Suppose there are 3 candidates, X, Y, Z. They get 30%, 30%, and 40% votes respectively. Z has 40% votes, so he will form the government. But if we analyze, actually the majority, X plus Y equals to 60%, was against Z, not in his favor. So how Z could form the government? Thus a certain minority is ruling over majority. In theory, democracy gives power to the people, but in practice, power often remains in the hands of the elite. When wealth influences elections, leaders can buy votes and maintain control. This creates what we call elected aristocracy, a system where leaders are elected by the people, but power remains concentrated among the wealthy. And such leaders do not serve people because empowering people means losing control. Factors such as poverty, ignorance, and social divisions make this problem worse. Aristotle said, "Democracy is when the indigent, not the rich, rule." But today, almost everywhere, including Pakistan, wealthy individuals dominate politics. Now, there are 2 types of leaders, a demagogue and a statesman. A demagogue appeals to emotions and misleads people through rhetoric. Example could be Hitler. Rhetoric is a language designed to have a persuasive or impressive effect, but which is often regarded as lacking in sincerity or meaningful content. A statesman, on the other hand, combines vision with action and works for the progress of the country. The success of democracy depends on having statesmen rather than demagogues.